I want to actually, can I close this blind?
It's working.
3 years ago.
And your
5 years ago. 4 uniforms, 13.
Yeah, it's just not showing the slideshow that well.
no, it's not, but at least we can start getting people on there.
Yeah. Do you want me to send it to Joanna?
Yeah. Oh, yeah? Oh, I just know I see we're doing. I saw her there. Yeah. I
Alan now. Yeah, you know, Paterson.
Yeah, there you go.
I want to give them part of what you give
Scott's at the bar in a green shirt. Scott's at the bar.
Is that the bar?
Yeah. I didn't say he was getting a drink. He's just at the bar. You working?
I already mentioned this, you know,
I know. I should turn it. Thank you, though.
Hello, Marion. You don't know me, but I'm not sure about Al Paterson.
Hi.
Great guy. Happy also got that friend in Montgomery. All big circles. Yes, it is.
Very well. Yeah. How you doing? My mom and dad will be, and they might have Nina. My mom and dad will be, and they might be bringing Nina. She was a little rogue from yesterday. She didn't go to the play. She got mad and called her mom, who picked her up at 11. It's a rough day, I guess. Tether. Yeah.
Are you doing the live stream? Oh, you devil. Hi, Adrian.
I can actually, if she joined the comments, I could actually type chat with her on the side. Joan says hi. Joan watching from home says hi. Joan says hi.
Aw.
She's watching.
Are these programs yours or?
No, go ahead. This is Wendy from the hospital.
Sorry?
This is the Wendy from the hospital. Just asked if she there.
Okay.
I don't know where your mom went, but. Hi, I'm Ryan. I'm Heather's other. Miriam's right there. She was hoping you'd make it.
Yeah, I said hello to her. She said that the
Awesome.
family was over here. So, yeah, really nice.
Nice to meet you.
Are you tech today?
I'm learning. We're live streaming on YouTube,
Oh,
so I
wow.
can share the link if you want.
Oh, yeah. There are some people who would love to see that.
Would you like it as a text or an email?
Whatever you choose.
Let's text.
Okay. 250-383-2541. There's a couple colleagues who couldn't make it. So it's live and then will it also be recorded?
I always have it as soon as I went live when I finish. It's always in mine.
Okay.
I just don't know how to share that yet.
Sharing or make it public.
It's currently public,
Okay.
but then to share the past ones, I have no idea. I just started YouTube just for this. I'd find a way to digitize it somehow.
Great. Thank you so much. Yeah.
I talked to her. We haven't
yet. I just
fun to get it going.
Yeah, I was gonna try to do a head count, but we're easily at 100. Yeah, all the tables basically have 5 at it. That's 25 tables, so we're well over 100 there at the back.
No, I want them up there. Yeah. I want them. I love them. The hardest for me is money. I'm running on the box. No, it was weird. But it was fun. I had a great time. Yeah, we changed it to be like the original. Yeah, just normal. Well, I don't know if lots of. I gotta go find my wife. Talk to you guys.
not here yet.
We were trying to scoop Lena.
Oh, I figured she would have come with you if she was coming. You can tell me all about it later.
We're not. She's just not here. Yeah, there is. I never saw what it was, but at Royal Oak, there was like everyone was taking Royal Oak off.
Look, Laura, can I get you to scoot over a little bit? Because we need to get the camera in on the podium. Thank you.
I'll fix it when he starts talking. Sure. How you doing? How you doing?
Yeah, I'm speaking.
That's good then.
I'm
I
okay
think
right
it's
now.
probably up to you to start it, right?
Yeah.
See Jim grabbing more chairs.
Can everyone put a seat, please?
You want me to hang on to that? You got it?
It doesn't matter where I put it, it falls over.
And you know where it is, right on the
On
ground.
the floor, yeah. That makes me feel better.
Can everyone hear me? You guys in back? Anyone?
Can I get you something?
Oh, no thanks. No thanks.
All right, we're going to get started, guys. Please have a seat. Just before we get started, guys, can anyone turn up Ryan is live streaming.
Turn it up now.
Turn it up? I don't know if we can turn up these. Any better? Any better?
How's that? Is that better? You guys at the back yet? Hi everyone. I just wanted to start by saying thank you for coming out here today to celebrate my dad. Alan Paterson. From now on, I'll refer to him as Dad. A lot of you guys know us, Dad, Al, Chief, Alan, Pat, that was in there, but I'll refer to him as Dad from now on. So it means a lot to our family to see everyone gathered here. There's a lot of people here. Makes me real nervous. And his family, friends, people who knew him from different parts of his life. And, you know, it's really cool to see new people here that he touched their lives. So today's not meant to be heavy. It's not a formal service. We want to kind of feel like that. You know, calm, simple, genuine. You know, he had an odd sense of humor. A lot of you guys knew it. But today we're basically just going to tell. There's many people that we can tell stories, come out and tell some lies. That's one of the things he always used to say. Come over and tell some lies. So there'll be a mix of things. You know, a couple letters, a couple stories from people who couldn't make it. Friends, family, anyone who wants to come up, share some stories. Obviously, you guys gave me a mic, so there's a lot of me and him stories. For 50 years. And, you know, just to remember him in our own way and the effect that he had on our lives and what he taught us. And just, you know, that. So I'd like to kind of take a little moment, watch some of the slides for a sec. We'll take about a minute. And just, you know, think of your favorite memory, Dad. Something that made you smile, something that reminds you of who you really was. Okay. So kind of, I guess I'll start off with this, just a quick story of, you know, when I was little, before anyone else, it was, you know, I was born in 1975, of course, and met Dad, my best friend, and we got very quickly posted Prince George. And then very quickly after that, we adopted a little collie dog named Pepper. Some of you guys might have met Pepper. Pepper was an awesome dog. So it was me, Dad, Pepper. And I like to think that, you know, the patience that Dad had with people there. Do you guys remember how patient he was? I like to think I helped him get patient. Because when I was little, before anyone else was around, you know, I gave him some testing moments as a little kid, you know, around 3 years old. You know, especially being in Prince George, you know, it kind of bothered me a little bit. The fact that I got out there alive was probably a good thing. But my very first test I put Dad to, his mom was working night shift in RN, and I found the Jiffy marker. And I started my art career on that day. And I also started Dad's affinity for painting walls. Because I drew all over the wall, just drawing and having fun, making a really cool mural. Dad comes around the corner, realized that if he doesn't fix this before Mom gets home in 12 hours, he's dead. So he painted the wall. And he never let me forget. Then, me and Pepper being my partner in crime, we decided to run away one day while Dad was at home. Getting working. And when the cops finally brought us home, you know, he gets us out, me and the dog, he's like, cool. Then he goes to his trunk and pulls out this big tricycle, green machine, like plastic Fisher Price thing. And Dad's like, yeah, that's not ours. Dad's like, it is now. And your son's a car thief. And so I had that thing for a little while, me and Pepper were running around, and then we moved to Belmont Park. We get posted back to Victoria, moved to Belmont Park. And, in the early 80s, late 70s, yeah, that bike lasted a week. It got stolen. Yeah, so, I did a bunch of things like that, and just really grew him to become a chief and become successful in his military life. And there's lots of other little things that I did when I was small that, it's just me, him. For a short term, he liked to tell me the story that when he was trying to teach me colors, red. He goes, what color is this? And I go, green. And my mom tells me that I carried this on for about 2-3 months. My dad was really thinking I was colorblind. What color is this? Yellow. No, it's red. Yeah, he thought I was colorblind. He was getting ready to take me to the doctor, and now one day he's doing it again, and all of a sudden I start laughing and laughing and laughing and laughing. I think it's the funniest thing in the world that I've kind of tested Dad for a month or two, but I was really colorblind. And I was like 2 or 3, like 3 years old. So yeah, that's kind of our Prince George stage of our life when it was just me, Mom, Dad, and Pepper. And Pepper was Dad trained Pepper so well that I don't think I've ever seen a dog trained like that ever since. Once she could escape any fence, it didn't matter how high it was, and he taught her that look both ways before you cross the road. Don't let stop, just run across the road. She'd actually grab me and pull me back. So yeah, those are a few of the stories just from when I was really young before anybody else came into our lives. And right now, I'd actually like to ask Gail to come and say a few words if she could. Because she fills in that gap where I don't remember. And also talk about Sharon and Mike.
My name's Dale, and I was married to Michael Conway, a cook, and he introduced my sister to Alan Paterson. And on a blind date, which turned out disastrous, but eventually they did get fall in love and get married. But the three of us kind of hung around because we were all Navy. Michael, and myself, and Al were in the Navy. And Sharon spent a lot of time picking us up and dropping us off to mess dinners, which we enjoyed. Anyway, Michael sailed with Al, and they were in a lot of trouble, those guys. They were off to sail. Puerto Vallarta they go into, and they rent a room with a bunch of other guys. And the guys decided to take off the bathing suits and swim nude. Not done in Mexico. So they go in to change. There's my husband sitting on the deck in his bathing suit because he didn't join in, but they arrested him. So Al was responsible for my husband being sent to a Mexican prison. Fortunately, for only a few hours because the base supply officer came with the money to bribe him out. Anyway, Al and Sharon followed us we always served together. Where we were in the Esquimalt, then we went to Borden, then we went to back to Esquimalt, and then we went to Chilliwack. And in Chilliwack, I convinced both Al and my husband to come out for step up aerobics. And the way I convinced him is, you got to come out because the Catholic convent comes up. Oh, okay. So we do step up aerobics. They're really enjoying it. I think it was something about the legs and the girls stepping up and down. I know that's what they were looking at. I can't say anything about the convent. So anyway, we had a lot of fun traveling around together. And when they went to Fredericton, in closing, he went to Fredericton with Sharon, and he served with the Army. And he would told me one story, because the Army does 10 milers back to back, back. 10-milers back to back today. And so one kid asked Al why the Navy never did 10-milers. And Al's reply was, because in the Navy, we stand and fight. That's how he enjoyed his, his time with the Army, because he was always teasing them. And being Navy, we were really, really strong Navy people. And I know Michael and Al loved serving together on this different ship. They'd been on the Cal, that's where they met. Al was Michael's boss, and so everywhere they went, they kind of got into problems and mischief. And I hope that they're both up there behaving themselves.
Yeah, I can see Dad and Mike up there with like big pots of spaghetti noodles and lasagna and making all those trays of lasagna like we did when we used to go skiing. Yeah, Dad, when Mike died was the first time I saw Dad cry. He lost his best friend that day. But, we learned a lot from you guys, the Hendersons. When Sharon came into our life, she brought me in and Heather. And, now we're a bigger family. And, we used to do lots of fun stuff. Gordon was obviously one of them. Going to Canada's Wonderland, going to Niagara Falls. I was just recently there, and I sort of showed you guys some pictures. That house has a pool now. Dad gave me the address when I was in Borden about a month or so ago, and went over there. They have a pool. They've got expansion on it, and then I saw the cameras. I realized I probably shouldn't be walking around the house. But I was really, really truthful. It's such a big backyard, from what I remember when I was 10. But I had a pool. And then also with Sharon and Mike and Gail, the skiing part of it was a big part of our life. Going up every second weekend in Mount Washington, bringing some friends with us, and having one bathroom was always fun. But having the big batches of Mike and Al and Dad cooking, going to once the Henderson ladies started having their debates at the kitchen table. Has anyone ever seen that? Surprise, nothing happened. Yeah, just wait, it'll happen. But you get the look from Dad and Mike, and let's go to the shed, let's go sharpen and wax some skis. And then obviously Heather and Paul had a big influence on us too. And they're traveling, and their scuba diving was a big influence on me. The kayaks, the windsurfing. And, that family you guys were great. Right around one of the fun ones, you've got 2 great kids. And, it was, and of course your parents, going over to Pedro was really cool. And of course Jenny was always here. Jenny and Leanne were always there. But that was a big part of our life. My and Mark's life is, and you guys seeing how tight you guys were as a family, and that you guys included us all, and Dad too, in that. Is Wendy in his order?
I'm here.
I heard you wanted to speak. So Wendy's part of Victoria Hospice, and as you'll find out, Dad had a big, that was really cool. So I'll let you speak.
Hi everyone, my name is Wendy Innes and I'm the Director of the Fund Development Department at Victoria Hospice. And on behalf of everyone at Victoria Hospice, I'm very honored to be here with all of you, to be invited to share in the celebration of Al's incredible life and to share with you the meaningful legacy that he leaves for compassionate end-of-life care in our community. I first met Santa Al during one of my very first few weeks at Victoria Hospice back in 2013. He had called the office to share the details of his annual Santa shave-off at the Victoria Airport. So So off I went out to the airport, and I joined, there was a small crowd gathering at the arrivals terminal, and I can still very, very distinctly remember the ho, 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 coming down the corridor, even before seeing the man in red himself. He then announced that he had raised over $3,000 that year for Victoria Hospice. And we all cheered as his big white beard, his hair, and even his bushy eyebrows were all shaved off for the cause. Of course, Santa Al's journey began long before that, when he first donned the red suit to bring joy to children and families. And as I learned, his mission took on a deeper meaning after the loss of his wife Sharon in 2009. In gratitude for the care they received at Victoria Hospice and in her memory, Al began donating all the proceeds from his Santa appearances to ensure that other families would have the same compassionate care during their time of need. Santa Al was a true hospice hero. From shopping malls to airports to photo shoots to silent auctions, Christmas parties, and private home visits, he raised close to $85,000 for Victoria Hospice. He also helped us raise critical awareness through media features in the Times Colonist, the front page of the Peninsula News. I think I saw a photo of him on the front page of Seaside Magazine. And so, we're very grateful for that as well. I cherish my many interactions with Santa Al over the years. His warmth, his compassion, and his kindness could truly light up any room. And whether he was coming by the office to drop off a donation, making a special appearance at our hospice tree light up, or attending one of our fall donor teas in one of the many fine Santa attires he had. I didn't know until then that there was more than just the red suit. There was something very special about being in his presence. His presence was more than festive. It was healing. He comforted people of all ages, listened with empathy, and created moments of magic for many families navigating difficult times. Santa Al brought joy, comfort to thousands across Greater Victoria, embodying the true spirit of giving, not just during the holidays, but all year long through his incredible generosity. The funds Al raised have made a profound difference. His generosity has ensured that thousands of people have received compassionate end-of-life and bereavement care when they needed it most. Every dollar he raised brought comfort, dignity, and peace, whether through care provided to families on our inpatient unit, in their homes, or through the grief support we offer for those navigating loss. As we celebrate Al's life, I want to acknowledge the grief that comes with his loss. Grief is a natural and normal response to the loss of someone important. And Victoria Hospice is committed to walking alongside those struggling with grief. In Al's honor, I want to remind each of you that Victoria Hospice offers free grief support to anyone in our community. No prior connection to hospice is needed. Al's warmth, his kindness, and the twinkle in his eye won't be forgotten. Though he is no longer with us, his legacy lives on in the heart of those he touched and in the compassionate care he held so dear. We are also very deeply grateful to be receiving donations in his memory, ensuring that his spirit of giving continues to make a difference. And I just had a quick look at the thermometer total. It looks like we're now over $93,000. The holiday season won't be the same without him. For me, seeing Santa Al was always the true start of Christmas. And I know many of my colleagues at Victoria Hospice feel the same. His presence reminded us of the magic of generosity and the power of human connection. Santa Al showed us that one person can bring joy, comfort, and hope to thousands of people. And as we remember Santa Al today, may his example of generosity and compassion continue to inspire us to care for each other and for those in our community. Thank you.
Thanks, Wendy. My brother Mark. It's also Mark's birthday today.
All right. I got some notes. It's great actually to hear everybody, connecting Al's tales across time. So they all come from different slices of his time. Although I think I've heard your story, Dale. It's like, I remember that one. It's nice. I wrote down a whole bunch of memories, but like every time, I look at somebody at a table, I'm like, oh, there's a whole bunch of great memories. There's a whole bunch of great memories over there. I remember all these deep conversations and, the great things that Al facilitated this collection of us. We wouldn't be happy with like 150 people here just kind of for one last goodbye. So anyway, I thought I'd share what I got, I think, from Al, and I think that's my chill. So when I started to think, like, what memories can I share? It wasn't the wild memories, wasn't the crazy Tijuana prison memories. Like, it was when he was just like, man, that's life, right? Whether it was good, whether it was bad, whether I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna get killed for this, and sometimes just like, hey, that's life, it's okay. And I really took that from him. Try and embody that. I try and do, that was, I think, what my favorite part of him was. Part I'd like to carry on. I see echoes of it in Santa. Like, Santa was one chill that, maybe a couple of us have memories of a wilder Al. It's just, you can tell more stories, We got all day. That's great, and I hope lots of other people do kind of come up and have a little story. The other thing, though, I wanted to speak to is my grief, right? Like, what is it like to lose your dad? I've got some dark humor about it. Like, Scott's very, very wound up about emceeing today. Dad's legacy is very important, to all of us. But I see Scott taking that on. It's like, there ain't nobody here to judge you anymore. You're the old guy now. Cousin Adam's still older. If you're watching this on the stream, it's you, Cousin Adam. But we're all kind of working through this grief, and it reminds me actually of my most recent memory of Dad. He had that day of energy. We all came to visit him the day before he passed. He was so energetic, and he's making plans for next week, and he's like, "Don't bother coming to visit me tomorrow. You got a life, live it." And I'll get out of the hospital in a couple of days. We'll figure out what's going on. Just another blood thing. Pass the next day. It's just awesome that the last time we left his life. See you tomorrow. But I have a great time between them and now. Live life to your fullest. I'll be here. So I hope everybody in this room walking away from here today. So I'm gonna live life to my fullest. That's what I'm gonna take out of this sharing that we're all having today. Let's move forward with the connection and greatness that we shared, and let's think about the connections that we've got with all the people at the tables with us, and how we're carrying all their joys and creating all the joys with them. So I would like us all to walk away with that today. Thank you for sharing today. Thank you all for coming and sharing with Alan Paterson in the way that you know.
That was awesome. Awesome. Thanks for sharing. Is Jim Williams? Come on down. Let's play Plinko. So Jim worked with Dad at the airport as a commissioner. I'll let him tell some stories. You can tell one about a wreck his shoulder. Thank you. I can see a lot of people here. I can see a lot of people from the airport and back there where they always sit. Al, he was, I met Al in 2005 when I joined the airport as a security officer. He was the senior security supervisor out there, and he was my mentor. He taught me a lot. I actually took over his job and retired in 2014. So a lot of good times with him, a lot of hard times. A couple things I remember about out there. I know he was quite proud of his military career, and he was a 2 officer first class, and he really liked his ponies up on his shoulder. And because of that, we had a couple repatriation ceremonies out there. The fallen servicemen from the Iraq War. And I remember Al and all the military people from out. They're just hanging around the fence line waiting for the people to come out from the apron. And he took charge of that because we in the Navy. Got everybody lined up, formed up properly, smart. And as the motorcade left the field, everybody standing at attention and saluting. It was a proud moment, and I know he was proud of that as well. Another time, this particular story, he thought he was going to lose his job at the airport. He was out riding around the airfield, going down a taxiway. His windows open. It was summertime, and he looked up in his rearview mirror. And this great big plane was coming down, and he explored it and went into the seal. And he turned around and saw the pilots in the plane were laughing at him and everything else, and he thought, I'm going to do another trouble on that. That particular story is still going around the airport today because I'm the one that does the training on the field, and that's the one story I tell everybody. Make sure your windows are up, you can see, listen to the tower, because they were trying to get a hold of him, get out of the way of the airplane. So I heard that story now maybe half a dozen times, and I think most of the people at the airport heard it as well. He also had a great sense of humor. I found that out. One day I came to work. He said, Jim, come in my office. So I came in, sat down, chatted. He said, Jim, you know, your sister looks good sitting on my bed. I said, what? He said, your sister looks good sitting on my bed. My sister was a hospice nurse, and she was looking after Al's wife at home. But instead of just telling me that, he thought it'd be funny they were teasing about my sister sitting on her bed. One more to go on here. I know he believes in ghosts because he had a friend at the airport apparently that very few people knew about. There's a young native boy who was a ghost who played hide and seek with Al. Al when he was working nights, he would go into the terminal building and the guy would stick his head out and Al would see him and Al would try to find him. I don't think he ever did. I hope now he can. And we're all doing this at the airport. I know a lot of people out there still talk about him, ask about him, and everything else. So thank you very much. Thanks very much, Jim. Yeah, the recreation. I was trying to find a certificate. That was, that was something that was really, really cool that he got recognized for that. Has anybody here heard Dad's Chief's voice before? Yes. That big booming. Yeah, I know you have. the chief voice, when he has to act like a boss. Right? I remember one time we were at Ellie's Block when I was a kid, and they had like 800 cadets in Ellie's Block, and they were just all around that, stealing stuff, just making a mess. And all of a sudden he grabbed a chair, and all of a sudden you heard this big booming, "Attention!" And it was just that big echo of something you'd see off the Full Metal Jacket, right? And I only heard it 2 or 3 times. Quite like that. I heard a lot of it, "Jenny!" But not quite as loud as that. The repatriation thing was really cool, and he took pride in that. He really did. He had a big post, a big certificate that he got from the military, and the ghost thing. I didn't know he told me when Cher died, he had went and saw a mystic, and he had a reading done, kind of where his soul was, and I didn't even know he believed in this stuff because he never talked about that. So I asked him, what were kind of some of the things that you asked them questions about? He's like, kind of what was my relationship, throughout my life, my past life, what were my relationships with, my wives, my kids, and stuff like that. I'm like, okay, cool. And then I go, what other kind of questions did you ask? Because and he didn't fill me in on many of your guys' stuff, but he's like, yeah, we've moved through the world together, like through history together, stuff like that. Yeah, you're kind of freaking me out a bit. He's like, you have to go back to Russia. You've got unfinished business from when we were in the Russian Revolution. I'm like, and then I go, well, what other questions did you ask? He goes, will I ever meet an alien? I'm like, what? He goes, will I ever find out about aliens before I die? Yeah, those are not what I would think you would ask. And I don't think you meant an alien, so, I don't know. Arabella, come on down. Arabella Paterson is my niece, Al's granddaughter, and she's coming up to say a few words.
Hi, I'm Arabella, and I was my grandpa, and I'm gonna read a poem. My grandpa was an amazing person through his whole life, from the time that I accidentally punched a little hole in his arm when he was babysitting me, and he bled, to when he would always take me out for my birthdays and we'd go to Floyd's, and he'd be giggling and asking me questions like he was his friend. My grandpa kept a garden of the heart. He planted all the good things to give our lives a start. He turned us to the sunshine and encouraged us to dream, fostering and nurturing the seeds of self-esteem. And then the winds and rain came. He protected us enough, but not too much, because he knew he would stand up strong and tough. His constant good example always taught us right from wrong, markers for our pathway that will last a lifetime long. We are my grandpa's garden. We are his legacy. Thank you, Grandpa. We love you. My grandpa always knew that he was the funniest and sassiest guy in the room. And I think that's what I'll always take away from him, to bring your own humor and your own self to every single situation you're in.
I'm just going to find it. There's letters. I'm just going to find some letters that some of the guys that sent in for them, if I can find them. Where is it? I can find it. I'll have to go find those letters. Is anyone want to say about that? We'll just open the floor for a few minutes while I find these letters. And anyone got anything to say about that? Yeah, come on out. How's that?
I don't want to steal Robbie's thunder. I wasn't going to. While you look for those letters. You guys are right. This is for you too. And for Marion. So my name is Jennifer, aka Jenny, and yes, I did hear his chief voice quite frequently during my childhood. My father is Mike Crumley, my mom is Gail Crumley. Grew up as an only child, but I didn't really, because my Uncle Al and my Aunt Sharon were like second parents to me. So I grew up the best of both worlds. I had 4 siblings,
And I also got to be an only child. I got a lot of Christmas presents. So it was kind of the perfect world for me. 2 weeks before Al passed away, my mom and I had come down to Victoria to see a Bryan Adams concert. And we went the next morning to see Al and Marion. And just talking to Al, I sat there and sort of, if I had known, right, that he was going to pass away 2 weeks later, I would ask some deeper questions. But we were just sitting there talking about life and just how, because he liked to do that every once in a while, and just how the world is kind of a funny place and how we have to make space for all people. And that sums him up perfectly. He was one of those people who could make space for all people. He wasn't a person who was going to take sides or to stand his ground on some things, although I'm sure he did. But he always made space. He made pretty much everybody, I think, feel welcome whenever they walked through his door or sat with him as Santa, or when he would be at our endless family gatherings. And like Scott so nicely said, we would be in a cottage with the Henderson ladies chatting, and he would sort of navigate you outside to wax off and wax on. Skis. He was a pretty cool dude, and I was very lucky to grow up knowing him and to have my children, sit on his lap and have pictures with him, and to grow up in a world where, he lived. One thing that, sorry, I totally just lost my train of thought, which is very common for me in a group full of people. One thing I just want to say actually is for you, Marion. So when my nephew was born in 10, he was born in, sorry, I totally couldn't remember. I had my 3 children in Victoria, and my cousin needed me to come to Vancouver with her to help watch her other children. And so it was kind of a drop everything and go emergency situation. And so I called out and I said, listen, I need you to drive my kids back up island to my parents because I'm going with Leanne over to Vancouver. And so Al and Marion just dropped everything, picked up my kids, and drove up island. Do you remember this? And they stopped in a subway, apparently. Do you remember that? So I didn't know any of this, but like a few weeks later, when the dust had settled, I was putting my kids to bed one night, and my youngest, who beats to their own drum all the time, had said, I said, did you have fun with Al and Marion? And Nor had leaned in and, like little kids do, and snuggled and said to me, I really like Marion. She's a nice person for Uncle Al. And, that's out of a 7-year-old, right? So you're like, oh, I like this. I like these wise words. So although my aunt was like a second mom to me, and I dearly miss her, and I dearly miss my Uncle Al, I'm glad he found you. Because life is short, and if we have learned anything in this, I think it is that, we just gotta live life to its fullest. Okay, thank you so much for giving me this time.
All right, I'm gonna read a quick letter from probably one of Dad's oldest friends, and his name is Doug Warren. And so this is from Doug. Pat and I met in grade 5. He was from a different town. I picked him up for a baseball game at recess because he wore pink running shoes, and I thought that was neat. I called him Pat because we had another guy named Al. I was part of a small group that he allowed to call us Pat. He was Pat throughout my life. We grew up together in Lethbridge. Jack, Alan's dad, was instrumental in our relationship as he taught us so much together. He got us working together building a go-kart, unheard of at that time. We got a hold of a gas washing machine and built the go-kart. We drove all around Lethbridge, in fact. And we're the ones who got go-karts banned from the city streets in Lethbridge. Jack taught us a lot about hunting, fishing, winter skiing, water skiing, as they owned a boat. I was invited to join the family on holidays. I joined the Navy at 17. Al was rejected because he wore glasses. And about a year into the Navy, I heard you could get in if you joined the band. So I got a hold of Al. He signed up as an ordinary seaman band. He was a piper in the band, which he hated. And then I heard you could transfer to the seagoing trade, and they wouldn't ask about your glasses. So Al became a cook and finally got to sing. Lucky for all of us, he never could play the damn pipes that good. I put in 30 years, Al put in 32. We were only together a few times, but stayed the best of buddies throughout our careers. Al's wife was stricken with cancer. She finally passed away in hospice. Well, not really, she passed away at home. And after that, Al had already been doing Santa, and he started raising thousands of dollars for hospice in Victoria. A short while ago, I was diagnosed with cancer. Al and Mary drove out to Vernon to help me for a week. That's Al. I spoke to Al a few days before he passed away. He never mentioned anything about being sick. God, I love that man. Always thinking about helping someone else and not himself. You'll be so missed in my life that we will be together one day. Friends forever, Al, Doug Horn. I'm just looking for another quick one, but I can't seem to find my paperwork. But I'll look for that later. Anyone else want to open the mic? Anyone else want to speak? Anyone? Come on up. Come on.
My name is Ken Bison. I've known Al for over 40 years. I was with Al in the military. Al was an exceptional individual. He certainly put our cooks on the map. He was excellent. Everything he did was done well. Everything worked out well. And I know Mike also, and I'm sorry for his loss, because I know you husband too, Mike know me. But again, I was with Al at the end of August here for Salvation of Life for another cook who had passed. And I'm sitting with Al over here, and we were sitting talking, and we think, boy, life can be short. You can be here one day, and the next day you're gone. And so be it that with Al passing. So it's very, very sad and very unfortunate, and I offer my sympathy to all the family. He will be missed. Thank you very much.
I don't know if I can do this or not, but I'll try. I've known Alan since I was about 10. We grew up one block apart. We were closer as we got older. He was kind, compassionate, always the life of the party. Always, even when we weren't supposed to be at the party. He made the party. There's a few little anecdotes that I have about Alan. He was close to my parents, and when my mother lost her significant other, he was at the airport and got her off the plane and had the whole airport singing happy birthday, because that happened to be her 89th birthday. He was also Philippines. When he was about 12, a guy named Pete, and in Lethbridge, it was sort of streets of 3-bedroom bungalows, and in the back there was always a clothesline and a funny little bandstand that you got up to hang up clothes. And Alan was in his backyard, and the woman next door was was hanging up clothes and she bent over and he had this new BB gun. He shot her in the bum. He got in a lot of trouble, but it was kind of funny. Anyway, he was loved. He was kind, compassionate, outgoing, and I'll miss him. Thank you.
Thank you, Leslie. Let's get the eulogy done, and then we'll go with your, all right. So here's the eulogy. Al, affectionately known to many as Santa Al, passed away peacefully on September 29th, 2025, at the age of 79 with family and friends by his side. Al was born July 26, 1946 in Humans, I don't know what that is, Saskatchewan. Never heard that term before. He grew up creating havoc wherever he could and eventually joined the Navy on June 24th, 1964, as a bandsman at the young age of 17. I was just a young pup, he would often say. And then after that, he transferred to Cook a year later. And that's because he couldn't play the pipes. Over his 34 years career, Alan worked in three different elements of the Canadian Forces, spent 10 years at sea, 2 in air transport, and many other bases across the country. He also got to travel the world. The only thing he missed was the Asian tour of Australia. He proudly served Canada as a Navy cook, bringing warmth, nourishment, and joy to those around him. He could actually cook, so that made people happier. And that was right. His culinary talents are matched only by his kindness and humor. He was also a proud member of the Canadian Armed Forces military tattoo in 1967, and he did that gun race that they did, where you take the gun across and get everyone. That's interesting. Along with his team, they participated in the gun race, where each team had to deconstruct a cannon at one end of the arena and run pieces to the other side. Very physically demanding job. A lot of guys got hurt, and as always, Al had great fun. With great pride, he retired as a chief petty officer, first class, in 1998, and his last posting was back east in Gagetown, and then he moved back to Victoria. When he moved back to Victoria, he kind of got bored of retirement, so he became a commissioner at the airport for 10 years. And that's when he started donning the Santa suit. He really, when he saw tensions around Christmas time in the airport, he put his Santa suit and walked through. And they would get all the kids all excited and stuff like that. And as you already heard, after Sherry passed away, he started donating every penny he earned from doing Santa to hospice. And what did you say he's at now?
$93,000.
$93,000. That's his legacy, guys. Besides donning the Santa suit at Christmas, he liked to fish, golf, play hockey, and was a member of the Black Powder Mountain Marauders in the early 70s, or late 70s, early 80s. They would don, cowboy outfits and, sailor outfits. We had a teepee. And, they'd go shoot on the weekend, do other stuff, shooting rifles, and he loved it. He also had this cannon. Anyone ever seen a cannon? Yeah, you saw the cannon. So, just kind of to go off track for a sec, they had this, guy got this cannon cast down Cape Breton. He carried this thing around for like 40 years. Kept it greased, gave it. And it would shoot oranges at the Princess Mary. He was also a chauffeur for a short time, but they didn't really like the Santa beard thing. So he also loved to he'd go to the pool when he was getting older and hang out with his buddies every Tuesday and Thursday at Crystal Pool. Have coffee on Sunday with the folks at Timmy's from his Navy days, and he just smoke the buddies once a week at White Spot. They tell some lies. He'd have his apple pie and ice cream. He also liked fun. He liked fun. So his first wife, Marilyn, my mom, they produced myself and Mark. And, one of the times, I'm just reading notes here. He figured out that if I squawk and stuff, it's like a stock in my mouth. I suppose it works. Some of his proudest moments were the birth of his sons. Today's Mark's birthday. Happy birthday, Mark. Marriage to Sharon and the girls. Obviously, meeting and loving Marion. And his proudest career accomplishment is reaching Chief Petty Officer First Class. He touched the lives of everyone who had the privilege of knowing him. His warmth, generosity, sarcasm, good spirits will be deeply missed and fondly remembered. Al survived by his 4 children: Leanne, Chris, Scott, Elena, Heather, Mark, his 5 grandchildren: Quentin, Robbie, Arabella, Reese, and Finn. His 2 sisters, Laura and Linda, and Linda's husband, Rick. His stepbrother, Larry, and his loving partner, Marion. Her 2 daughters, Adrian and Heather, Brian. And as well as a host of cousins, nieces, nephews, and of course, they got Reggie the cat, who is everyone loves Reggie. And he leaves behind a legacy of love, laughter, and family service. Are you ready? Robbie Walker.
I'm doing a poem called Heavy on Your Armor. That time I thought I could not go. Yeah. That time I thought I could not go any closer to being dying. I was closer and I could not die. Surely God had his hand in this. As well as friends, still I was down. My laughter, as the poet said, with no one to down. Then said my friend Daniel, are they even in my lines? It's not the way you carry, but how you carry it. Books, bricks, it's all in the way you embrace it, balance it, carry it. When you cannot and would not put it down. So I went practicing. Have you noticed? Have you heard the laughter that comes now and again out of my scarlet mouth? How I linger to admire the things of this world that in time may be also troubled. Roses on the wind, the seas on this steep waves, and love to which there is no reply.
That was beautiful. I'm just going to open it up. Anyone else want to tell some stories? Right, get you.
There was 2 words I would put to Al, is even keeled. And I guess maybe heritage brought that into play, but Al was very even keeled. I never saw him flap, I never saw him freak out, I never saw him do anything that wasn't kind to other people. He was kind. Like if we could all live our lives being kind, we would really make a difference. Al came into my life, I think I was in my early 20s when I first met him. And Sharon and him hooked up, and I kind of looked and said, what is she hooking up with him for? And then I got to know him, and I could see why she was hooking up with Al. He was kind, he had a sense of humor, he was fresh, he didn't have any self of importance. He didn't put on airs. He was just a nice, regular guy. And what woman wouldn't want a nice, regular guy? And he just fit into our family
so well. And they introduced the children, the kids, and they fit in really well. And towards the end, Al treated my sister like a queen. And normally people couldn't put up with something as hard to go through as a cancer patient. And Sharon was afraid she did not want to go into the hospital. And so Al did the work. He took care of her at home. And I'm sure it was not easy. And he was wonderful, and he was kind, and the hospice stepped in, and they helped him out, and they helped Sharon out. And I really don't think they could have done it without the hospice, or really, they deserve the $90,000 because who wants to go through that, really? And then later he met Marion. And Sharon always referred to the next woman as going to be the bimbo. I'm not even going to be the bimbo. Marion fit in, and she wasn't the bimbo. She was nice, she's kind, she's good for Al. She really made us 10 years wonderful. Thank you. He deserves it. Nobody deserves to be alone in their latter years, and you were wonderful to her. And just put one funny thing in here, because one time we were in their house in Colin, and Ken was little, and we were sitting at the stools with Al. He looks up at Uncle Al, and he goes, "I was just a glint in your eye back then, wasn't I, Uncle Al?" He goes, "No, son, you were never a glint in my eye." But, yeah, I can't say too much good about Al, because he deserves it.
Thank you. Anyone else want to talk? Everybody thank Joanne today. Joanne's been a big help for us. She's done the slideshow, she's done the brochure with the flyers. She has been an absolute wonder to be around. Thank you.
I've known Al for 15 years. Taking his picture for all his Santa things and for newspapers and magazines. My Christmas is a little bit sick. But this last year we were really going to pump these, and try to get him over the 100,000 point. We're going to put it all on social media and as far as we can get it with all of my contacts. And because we didn't get to that point, I've made up some things on your table. And I'd love if everyone would take a few of these and just drop them at your favorite coffee shop or leave them on church area or put them on a poster zone in your communities. I'd like to get them over the 100,000 point as a memory to him, so that we can keep it together. Thank you.
Let's get them over $100,000 mark. So just before I kind of go into my little Sucks. Alright. I'm just gonna go on my speech. So, farewell to Dad. My best friend. Sorry. So, yeah, Alan Paterson, it all got started around April 4th, 1972, when Al married my mom, Marilyn. Together they built a life that we shared for, we shared. So the day he came into my life was March 18th, 1975. It wasn't just my birthday, but it was the day that I met my best friend. Shortly after I was born, Alan married and took us up to Baldy Hughes, Prince George. And while we were there, we obviously found a dog named Pepper, who became my best little buddy. And also, somehow we found Mark. And so, Mark's Mark. He's my little brother. He's the one that always got me in trouble. Bad kid, especially Prince George kid, right? We were in Prince George for a couple of years, and then, the next chapter of our life, we came back to Victoria, went to Alan Park, my little scooter got stolen. And then it's sometime shortly after that, in the early 80s, Dad and Mom separated. And after that, Dad, he started hanging out with Mike and Gail, and Gail introduced him to his sister, and then, Sharon married Dad, and then we had two new sisters, Heather and Leanne into the fold, and, he was a devoted husband, loving father, and a reliable friend. And for those who worked for him, he was a committed leader. When I think about the man that Dad was, I always remember the phrase, and I learned it actually here from when I was 18 during the Commonwealth Games. This was my first job. Dad got it, or this is one of my first jobs on the base. Dad got it for me. And there was a lady cook who I worked with who we didn't get along. She thought I was a little nepo kid, which I was. And, but I was talking to her one day, I go, what's Dad like to work for? I just know him as Dad. And she goes, he's firm but fair. And that's a description of Dad that I've always had. Firm but fair. That description truly captures the essence of his character, and he applied that to every part of his life. So, as a child, I quickly learned what the firm part meant. It meant clear boundaries, expectations that you couldn't wiggle out of if you got into trouble. And you understand if you broke a rule, there was going to be a consequence for it. It's something that, as I've grown into an adult, I really see that the world has changed. The military has changed. So his leadership taught me that, right? He taught me responsibility wasn't optional. It was a foundation of freedom. A good example of that is, when we used to go skiing at the chairlifts, we were usually only allowed to do the lower level skis, but, I learned that firm part because we were going up the ski lifts, and Scott would drop a glove or a ski pole. Well, we knew we couldn't go back and tell them we lost those gloves or ski poles, so we had to go ski that hill, usually on our butt. But you know what? I did something, I had to recover it, and I sure didn't want to tell any of them that I lost those gloves. And even if I did screw it up, he'd never panic or, he wouldn't yell like Lori said. He was fair enough not to get angry, but he was firm enough that he would make me ski down and retrieve that stuff, which made me a better skier in the long The lesson was immediate. Carelessness meant extra work. But, that firmness was always softened by its profound fairness. And that fairness evolved, in your deepest connection. We really had a bond with hockey. Dad, you see some of his jerseys over there, his goalie jerseys. He played old timers hockey. He played hockey for the base, some of the base teams, some of the old timers teams. It's from a rec center. I don't think I can still walk into one of those dressing rooms without smelling the cigarettes, the beer, the BO, sweat, and A535 for the old guys. I still smell them. It's just one of those things. No other day, no other rig. But Dad had rituals. He had things that, in teaching me hockey and stuff like that, even just getting dressed, he would always put the same gear on. He'd start on the left foot, he'd do one leg, put the gear on the other. He had a routine. He had a very strict routine on how he geared up. And, it's funny because I have the same routine. I'm very superstitious in sports. I do the same thing every time. And from what I've been told, I would put the gear on the same way as him. As he was taking off, I'd put it on. And then after I'd mimic my dad and say, okay, boys, let's go for beers. But, that was, teaching me routine, teaching me discipline. That was his firm side. The fair side was, after we did all that stuff and after we'd go to Hot Chocolate a lot of times when I had my paperwork that he'd make me get up at 6 o'clock and drive me all the way to college to do. And he'd bring me into Nellie's block and let me eat as much food as I could. That way he didn't have to feed me later. And yeah, I asked him that when I started working. I already kind of talked about Mount Washington and stuff like that. And, it was just, don't ski. One of the things he taught me too is, especially as a teenager and getting a little cocky and stuff like that, is don't do something above your skill level. Don't ski above your skill level. It was a rule that he definitely had. Safety was a big part of it, but acknowledging that, and respecting your own limitations. He was a friend who wouldn't let me, he's also a friend who wouldn't let me wallow. He was firm enough to snap me out of my self-pity and reminding me that my own strength and my capacity to do things. He was fair enough to sit beside me though and help me get through those struggles and stuff like that. He was the first person I called when my mom died. And he was up in Murdo, and him and Sharon came down right away. He didn't even hesitate. He just came right down. As a mentor and a friend, as I transitioned in my teen years and I started getting my first job was at the base gym, and then Nellie's block and this building. The first lessons about being a professional and working was how to do a firm handshake, especially being on a military base. He made me practice it over and over again. Make sure you get that grip in there, right? Firm handshake. That starts to build that foundation of respect. And, small firm actions demonstrate that commitment that he made me practice it until I got it right. Second, he gave me, the key to navigating, any workplace is stay out of politics and make yourself indispensable. So 9 years ago, I got hired here at the base. Dad supported me in my businesses and stuff like that I had done in all my factory jobs. He never once told me to join the military. He's one of the few people in my family that didn't do that. He let me kind of do my own thing for a while. Strong supporter of my photography and some of my other businesses when I was a scuba instructor and stuff like that. But when I came in here into the base as a driver and stuff like that, especially as I started kind of learning more and working with more military people, he was always the first guy I called if I needed advice. He had worked in the base, he's worked in the military, he knows how to work with civilians, he knows how to do all that, but he was always the guy that I called for advice. One of my last memories that was really cool is that around Labor Day, I drove a pickup truck and a trailer to Borden, Ontario. I hadn't been to Borden since I was 10. It was around 10, right? 10ish. And so, we talked every day. He'd call me, see how I'm going, because, he'd ask me to look for some weird sign that he saw when him and Laura drove back from Ontario, some police sign or something like that. He was really interested in. But we would talk and talk and talk, and, about different places going out through the prairies, places that he'd always been. Once I got to Barrie, and he sent me the address of his old house, we went and checked it out. And I started exploring Barrie, started remembering a little bit more about Barrie and stuff like that, Canada's Wonderland, the Niagara Falls and stuff like that. But he got to see what his old house looked like. And, it was, and he talked about how hard it was for him, because when he got posted to Borden, that was the first time that he was not living in the same province as me and Mark. So when Mom and Neil came to pick us up, Glenn was around, three months old or something. I'm sure Glenn remembers that. That was really, really hard for him when we drove away. And he told me that. And we shared more memories just coming back. Like, I talked to him every day. Every time I stopped to pull over, I felt down. So, yeah, that was an important trip for me. Good way to close out all that mentorship he gave me. So, his fairness and his deep heart were never more evident than after Sharon passed away. When Sharon passed away, I'd seen what that had done for him for the last 2 years. It hit him hard, man. That almost did him. After Sharon passed, and that Staley seeing her in pain, he started perking up a little bit more after he met, as he was on. He met Marion, and like Lori says, thank you. You were a great friend. But he started doing the hospice thing. And I asked him a few weeks before he died, I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, Dad, you're not doing Santa this year, are you? And he was still going to do it. Dad, you've been in the hospital a lot. Probably should think about toning it down a little. But no, he still wanted to keep going. He was kind of stubborn that way. But he told me he had raised about $65,000. 65 to 95, he's kind of missing a few bucks. And you know what? That was his legacy for me. His 34-year career in the military was big, but his work that he's done with hospice and with Joanne, and that's the thing that shows me what Dad was. His generosity, being able to work with kids, being able to be around kids. That's the thing that is big for me. I'm not really reading my speech anymore, I'm just babbling. So his legacy, being firm and forward, is one of the greatest gifts he gave us all. And in my own life, I try to carry that with professionalism and compassion for others as best I can. Whenever I face a difficult decision, I still hear his voice in there. I hear him. And, our hearts will be really heavy with grief today. Hopefully you guys can all find some comfort that he left from what he left in the world. We will miss his unwavering leadership, most of all. So, yeah, thanks for being my rock, my teacher, my best friend. Thanks for showing us how to be strong, how to be kind. Love you with all my heart, and hopefully we honor you the best we can. And that's my speech. So, anyone else want to speak before we kind of wrap this up? Okay. So, I'm just gonna, I got some closing remarks. And then we'll close down, and then we'll just play a song that I think thumbs up, Dad, as best as I can. Don't forget the bar's open. Some of the people I just want to thank before I close up. I want to thank Mary, Leanne, Heather, Ryan, Joanne, for all the stuff you've done. And hopefully, anybody else who's helped. Chris Shipway, my boss, he brought the bell in for me. And anybody else who gave a hand that I might forget because my brain's mush. A quick story, just check out the bell. The bell is from one of the ships that Dad served on. We had the museum bring it here today. I was baptized on that ship, so my name is on the bell, and it's something that I searched for that bell. Me and Dad searched for that bell for a long time to find it, to see it. I'd never ever seen it until 2 years ago. It always been loaned out, so when I got the call to where it was at the base museum finally, and I surprised Dad by taking him to an old timers hockey tournament, which we always did hockey together. We went to Royals games with me and Quentin and Dad. We went to Vancouver Canucks games, see the Red Army play. So I took Dad to this old timers tournament, and I think Gagetown won or something like that as the Nationals. And then we went up to Nelly's Block. The guy who ran Nelly's Block, his dad served the dad, so they had a nice chat. And then we went down to the museum, and so we finally got to see it together. Something that me and him have together. That's one thing that we have together. So we finally got to see it together. And as we walked around the museum and stuff like that, a couple tourists came in from Manitoba, and when we came up, they're like, "Hey, can you believe there's kids named on his bells?" And Dad's like, "Yeah, he's one of them." So then we had to do tourist pictures with the bell. But we just brought it here because that's something that we had together. So just in closing, guys, I just want to say thank you all for coming. Truly. Everyone who's watching online, everyone who's here today, thank you, thank you, thank you. Everyone who shared a story, a letter, a memory about them. Hearing these things, the big and small, it just reminds me of, the kind of man he is, that he didn't need any attention or recognition. He just led by example. His quiet strength, steady hands, and, his dry sense of humor could break tensions of any room. He's the kind of man who made you feel calm just being around him. And I think that came from his years in his service. As a sailor, as a chief warrant officer, Dad carried himself with the kind of confidence and discipline that never left him. Even after the uniform came off, he taught us what it meant to take responsibility and to stay the course, to look out for your crew, whether it was at sea or here at home. But he also knew how to take the uniform off and be a dad or a friend. I think what makes today so meaningful is hearing how that strength and steady heart touched so many people in so many different ways. Sailors have a saying when a shipmate passes that they've crossed the bar. Setting sail for a calm horizon after a life of service and storm. I like to think of that's where Dad is now. Calm seas, steady winds, peaceful voyage home. I also like to see him, running amok with Michael, baking a bunch of stuff and then having a lot of drinks with people. I'd like to see him sitting up there talking to his mom and dad. It's been a long time since he saw his dad. I like to see him up there with Pepper, with Sharon, with my mom. He's up there with all those people that, he's up there with Mike. He's having a good time. He's probably making it a really fun thing. He's probably playing his little country music and Willie Nelson stuff like that. And so as we close the day, let's carry a bit of him forward. That patience, that humor, the sense of duty, heart that never wavered. If we can do that, we'll be honoring him every day. So, on behalf of our family, thank you for being here. To celebrate Chief Warrant Officer, Class 1, Alan William Paterson. He's their dad, their friend, he's their family. So let's all raise your glass. Pause for a moment. Fair winds and following seas. I love you. Round one for that. And I gotta find the mic thing. I'm just gonna play the last little song for him. Where'd that mic thing go? Where is it? Don't go anywhere. Just gonna play a little last song for Dad, and I think this sums up, kind of what he meant to us.
Leslie gave me a bunch of music. Okay. Leslie, okay. Thank you. Okay. No, I'm thinking. That's okay. Did you even know that?
I've had a ton of rescue cats. I was up to 7 one time with them. Yeah, I have a foster cat as well. But, so I fostered them. The first 7 were foster failures. Now I can't.
Jesus, Father.
2 I have left. I'm very upset. So I have to foster them. But, I would like my last 2 go. I think I'm looking for some. Anyway, I don't This is one of my cats, Jasper. It's very unusual cat, isn't it? Like this face, I use like a I don't know, he was a man. I can't imagine. Either that or I also keep a feral cat outside. I've been keeping him for 9 years. He lives on my deck, but he's still
Hanging out with the other Chris's families. Married a Chris's brother, married a sister. Married a sister. Since she married a Chris like a brother, Myra married a Jennifer. So when I cried, I love This scarf is very I love it. This is the witch's scarf. No, the witch's scarf. Scottish women, they hardly yeah. So they all got parties and official witches target. Well, I almost did that. It was I fucked it up. I tried to get it. It was given to me. Because I was stupid when I booked it. I booked it in reverse, so I booked it. And I booked it yesterday. I just booked it off. But so when I went down there, I go and pay $200 to get married. Yeah. But they don't give you refunds. Well, it's $39. I bought the two, right? Like I bought there and then I bought back. But for some reason, the back, yeah, $79. But they're not giving me a refund for the return is happening. I canceled it at $130. So I should get technically like $35 back. But that was $20. But when I canceled it, they told me I would test nothing. And they're trying to get hold of them. So this trip cost me $250. Bit over but I leave tomorrow.
Yeah, I was going to go back to Maine, but it was more expensive to go back to Maine. Well, coming here with it's not worth the yeah, I would never be able to say
I know the money. We're good whenever you're ready.
Item 14, new shoes law. Like they're trying to help you. Yeah, the head. Grab it. Grab it.